Hi, and welcome to 15 Minutes of Fame. I'm Jeffrey Driscoll.
And I'm Jim Kerr.
Well, let's start where we so often do, Jim, with some hockey news. First up, Chris Osgood retires after 17 NHL seasons as a Detroit Red Wing, which reignites the debate, which we're about to have here, about whether or not he should end up in the Hockey Hall of Fame. I don't think he should. Kerrzy, you do. Go.
Okay.
All right.
In the decades and decades, I don't know if it's 100 years yet or if it's closing
years.
in. Well, we'll
Sure.
say it's 90 to 100 years. There have been 10 goalies to hit 400 wins. Chris Osgood is the latest of those goalies. So there are 9 other players in the history of the much historied NHL to reach that mark. He also has 50 shutouts, which isn't, Terry Sakic, but it's better than most. He's even got a goal, Jeff.
Yeah, he does have a goal.
If you're going to turn around right now and tell me...
You can't take my argument.
He was on a good team.
Here it comes.
Are you telling me that every player that's benefited from being on a good... If he was great on a bad team, you wouldn't know who he was?
I think that if he was great on a bad team, we knew who Luongo was when he was in Florida getting 45 shots against.
But you weren't saying, oh, this guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame, this guy right here. Because he's on a losing team. He's never going to have the stat. You need a good... Okay, let's look at some famous Edmonton Oilers.
Yes.
If you take one guy out of that equation, are they as successful a team as they were? And are these guys individually as successful as they would have been?
I think most of them,
absolutely
other than
not.
Grant Fuhr, I don't think Grant Fuhr necessarily should have been in the Hockey Hall of Fame. But
from the 8-6 era of the NHL.
That's right. The save percentage of 7.50 to get in the Hockey Hall of Fame. But other than Grant Fuhr, I think your Glenn Andersons, your Jari Kurri, Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, I think all would have made it into the Hockey Hall of Fame on other teams. I absolutely do think that. I think
because there's a lot of good players in the NHL, but to get in the Hall of Fame, you gotta have the stats to be in a different class.
I think if you put Osgood on the Florida Panthers during the same time that he was playing so well, I don't think we would have been talking about him for Hockey Hall of Fame.
Okay, they threw him on St. Louis and then the New York Islanders, and he had a 30-win season with each of those teams.
Both of those teams had good teams that year. Not so much the New York Islanders.
They didn't have good teams. They weren't
good enough to get 30 wins.
They weren't contending for anything in those years.
I will absolutely say that Chris Osgood is an above-average goaltender, but with names like Terry Sakic and Martin Brodeur and Patrick Waugh, you can't put him in that category.
Statistically, you can.
Statistically, you can. Fine, sure, okay.
So what else but statistics?
Well, I just think that along with the rest of you got to look at the whole picture. You can't just look at statistics.
Patrick Waugh was never on a good team. Terry Sakic, never on a good team. None of these guys ever on a good team.
All right. We're going to move on here, Jim.
You jerk.
And we'll see what happens. My bet, though, is they put him in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Not a first ballot.
No, not a first ballot. Yeah, but I agree. I think he's going to get in there.
If you group him with other, who's better than him? Well, most of those guys are in the Hall of Fame, or once they retire, they will be. There's other, I can see the argument that you're making because he never seems like even the look. He doesn't look like that goaltender.
There's that too.
I don't know what it is, but
it's probably not. He wasn't as flashy. He doesn't have the ego either.
Quietly, very very successful. He won 2 Stanley Cups, 3 overall. I mean. Yeah. They don't take it away from you if you're not if
you're not the starter.
If you're the 6th defenseman, they don't. Oh well, he won a Stanley Cup, but he was on the 3rd line, so it doesn't. Right. So he won 3 Stanley Cups, 50 career shutouts, 401 wins. I don't know. I think statistics alone, you got to give it to him.
I think if you put Grant Fuhr in the Hockey Hall of Fame, you put Chris Osgood in the Hockey Hall of Fame. That being said, I don't know if either of them should have been in there. All right, we'll see what happens. Keep an eye, folks. Got an eye on it, folks. Moving right along, well, not right along, but moving along. Steve Stamkos signed a 5-year, $37.5 million contract with the Tampa Bay Lightning this week. It's another deal that includes a massive multi-year signing bonuses. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm good for Stevie I. Seems to be the new method of choice. Is this cap circumvention there, Jim?
Well, it's interesting because initially it was these front-loaded contracts.
Yeah.
They were saying, okay, well, no, now it can't. You can't have the last few years be less than half of for whatever it was. So they kind of got away from that because that was the trend for a couple of years, and to a point it still is. But this year we've seen this new thing where okay, Steve Stamkos signs a deal that'll pay him $4 million this year with a $4 million signing bonus.
Right.
Christian Ehrhoff is the other big one.
Yeah.
$2 million with an $8 million signing bonus or something ridiculous like that. I'd have to think that the NHL's looking at that, going, okay, well, there's maybe no rule against it yet.
Yeah.
But, and I think one of the things I read is that a lot of players want to make sure they get the bulk of their money before a possible lockout.
Right.
Or at least, a good chunk of change before a possible lockout. And I guess signing bonuses. But I don't really understand why they go with the signing bonus and not just put it in the salary, because I think it still counts.
I thought it still counts too. There must be something in there.
Something that we don't know about.
It absolutely is cap circumvention. It absolutely
seems like
is.
How are you going to give a guy $2 million and then an $8 million?
Exactly.
The other way, maybe.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really sit well with me.
No, it absolutely is, and good for Stevie Y for doing it while he can.
Absolutely.
I mean, there were a couple of front-loaded contracts out there that got through before Ilya Kovalchuk.
You know what the amazing thing with the Stamkos contract is, though? After this 5-year deal, he's only going to be 26.
That's right, and an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah, and he's going to be in for an even bigger payday.
Absolutely he is. Yeah, absolutely is. Remember Alexei Yashin, Jim?
I do. It rings a bell.
Right.
It rings a bell.
He was the man in Ottawa. He became an Islander after holding out. Went over to Europe for a year with Ottawa. It was absolutely brutal. And then he went to the KHL again, and he wound up getting bought out. By the New York Islanders. In fact, he's still being bought out. He's still on their payroll.
They're still paying him
$2 million a year or something like that. But guess what? He might be on his way back to the NHL, and the only team who's talking to him right now, Jim, is the New York Islanders. What's going on there?
Would they have to pay him twice? I guess
I think they do. Yeah, I was looking at it, and they have to pay him twice.
I think he's a 2.2 cap hit. So whatever they're paying him is going to be plus 2.2. But maybe they have the space for it. I don't know. But that's strange.
They're going to have to pay him $500,000 plus the $2.2 million or something.
But I've heard him say that he feels like he's not going to accept anything less than market value. But that's an interesting term, because I guess it all depends on what market value is for a 37-year-old who spent 4 years. He played well in Russia. He was decent. His stats were not too shabby, but what's market value for him? I don't know.
I can't believe Garth Snow and the Islanders even looking at this guy. He should be the pariah of the NHL. For me, Alexei Kovalev is even above Alexei Yashin, which shows.
I guess we haven't seen him play in 4 years.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm gonna just go out on a limb here and assume that if he's not up to par, they're not going to make a move, but they might. He's skated for them, I guess.
Yeah, he's been at their practice rink.
And I guess if they like what they see, but this is interesting. We've got a couple of guys now with Yager joining him as players that left the NHL, went to Europe, and then are coming back a couple of years later after saying, "Okay, I'm done in the NHL. I'm just going to go play out my years in Russia." And then I don't know if that says something about the KHL. Or
I think
if it's
it does.
Just coincidence or what it is, but. Strange. I can't wait to see what he signs for.
No kidding.
10 years, $97 million.
That's actually only $2 million with a $95 million signing bonus.
That's what I was going to say.
That's right.
$1 million with an $8 million signing bonus.
Let's move on to the CFL real quick. This week, the Edmonton Eskimos extended their winning streak to a perfect 4-0 in this year's first Battle of Alberta against the Calgary Stampeders. This is the first time the Green and Gold have gone 4-0 since 1986.
Outstanding.
What's going on with the team, Jim?
You know what? They've got the offense rolling. The defense, I thought it was fitting on Saturday that the defense came up and made a big stand at the end to close it out. But things are just going well, and I think Kavis Reed has really got them where he wants them.
Absolutely.
Like he's not going to be your friend.
No.
There's a time for everything, but he knows that. You could even see it at the end of the game on Saturday. Some guys are kind of mixing it up a little bit, and he's right in his players' faces saying, "Get to the room," like a stern parent. But I think if the coaching staff has all the players on the same page and playing for each other, and the offense is playing like it is, that offensive line is giving Ricky Ray days to make a pass.
Kidding.
The receivers are playing outstanding. Fred Stamps is having an unreal season so far. And the defense is performing. It's just everything's coming. And people were saying this, even though they were 3-0, this is going to be Edmonton's first big test. I don't know if I agree with that, but I guess they passed the test.
I'd say so. I agree. The one thing you noted there was the O-line is giving him Ricky Ray just loads of time. And I love it.
You see it in the running game too, because the O-line is playing their part, and guys are finding the holes. It's fantastic.
We mentioned that last year, even when they were having their horrible year. We mentioned about how the offensive line was really the key, and sure enough, that's what's doing it.
Absolutely.
We're going to move on to the GABBYs now. These are the good and bad by you. Let's start out with a good to mustachio Toronto Blue Jays outfielder Travis Snider. Since being called up earlier this month, he has driven in 17 runs, which puts him in the top 10 or so in the entire league for the month of July. That included a 5 RBI performance this week in a win over Seattle. The past 2 games, one against Texas the other day, not so good, but guy's still doing okay, and he's rocking a killer mustache.
Yeah, and to get called up and perform right away, fantastic. But that mustache is out of this world.
Absolutely.
I think we mentioned that at the start of the season too,
and rightfully so.
And he's kept it, that's dedication to the cause. Definitely. Right there. Once a perennial joke in the major leagues, the Pittsburgh Pirates are actually making some noise in the NL Central. They came into this weekend around the top, fighting for the top spot in the division. They could make the playoffs.
Yeah, they could.
At the start of this season, I think you would have said playoffs.
Pittsburgh?
Yeah, but that's cool. They had 57 wins all year last year. They're over 50 already.
Yeah. They had 100.
They were the worst team in baseball last year. Yeah,
over 100 losses. They had 105 losses last year, Jim. They haven't had a winning season in 18 years. That's almost 2 decades. It's absolutely fantastic. Good for them.
Finally.
Finally, yeah. Finally something good can happen in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
How about a good to our boy Joe Sakic? Burnaby Joe. He hit a hole in one at the American Century Golf Classic last weekend, which netted him a cool $1 million. Like the class act that he is, Burnaby Joe donated half of that money to charity. Isn't Tiger Woods looking for a new caddy there, Jim?
You know what? If he isn't, he should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think Joe Sakic's your man. He's free. He doesn't have too many commitments, I don't think.
No.
And I'm sure he'd love to spend the rest of his life on a golf course.
Absolutely.
But that's awesome. And it was caught on tape and everything. That's fantastic.
Great.
And $1 million.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Do you donate it to Putt Strong?
Oh.
No, Live Strong.
Yeah.
Same thing.
I got it.
On the bad side, with all the controversy surrounding college football these days, you wouldn't think if you were a college athlete you'd make jokes about getting paid, but that's what one USC running back did this week. Mark Tyler is his name. He was asked by TMZ, of all people, who gets paid more, players at USC or pros? And he said, USC, they breaking bread. So we got suspended for a game from his team for that.
Just joking, too.
Yeah.
Just jokes.
I mean, is it worth making that joke?
Oh, man, I guess not.
When every week there's a title taken away or a trophy removed or sanctions handed down, college football is a mess right now.
Oh, absolutely a mess. Listen, I know we talked about it earlier, but seriously, let's just stop for a second. Is Alexei Yashin really trying to come back? And are the New York Islanders actually trying to pick him up?
I think the Islanders deserve a bad for that.
Oh, my God. What are you doing?
Just watch him come in this year and score 35 goals and make us look silly. But still.
Yeah, still. Go for it.
I mean, is Garth Snow going to get back between the pipes if DiPietro gets hurt again?
Since he's there.
Trottier?
Yeah, there we go. Bring him back.
Yeah. What's Billy Smith up to these days? Okay, our final bad. This one's good.
Yeah.
Or bad.
A bad good. A good bad.
There it is. Gad.
It's Gad.
Or Bud. One of those two.
Right.
A Danish cyclist, because, there's the Tour de France going on. It's over now, but it's been going on for the last couple of weeks here.
Yeah.
They also had one in Italy, some other tour of, Brixia or something.
There you go.
This guy's flying around the corner, downhill, 60 kilometers an hour, hits some cattle.
Oh,
Jeff.
man.
He hits a cow at full tilt. Broken collarbone and a concussion.
I'm surprised that's all.
Hit some cattle.
Oh, man.
I read that and I had to read it twice. I thought,
cattle.
He hit some. Okay, but was he in a farm? How did he? But that happened. That's real life.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
That would hurt a lot.
That would hurt a lot. We're going to do quick hits real quick. That's kind
Watch out for the cows.
Yeah, there you go. Watch out for the cows is the moral of the story. The Winnipeg Jets have unveiled their new logo. Pass or fail, Jim?
I guess a pass, but they made it seem like it was going to be something a lot different. Same colors. It's a jet.
It's a jet. Yeah, I like they're going for the Canadian Air Force. They're kind of logo.
They already were kind of doing that.
Yeah, they were.
I mean,
Tour de France cyclist, I'll see if I can get this right, Alberto Contador punched a heckler dressed as a doctor recently. Not Alberto Contador dressed as a doctor. The heckler was dressed as a doctor. Pass or fail?
The Tour de France is weird for that kind of stuff. People running alongside, cars hitting cyclists and the like. But I guess if you're him and there's a guy, busting your onions while you're trying to ride your bike, why not punch him?
Absolutely.
I don't know how good of a punch you could get while you're cycling, but
I'm all about it.
Cool, I guess.
With all the other stuff going on there, I'm all about it. So, yeah, there you go. Listen, that was our 15 Minutes of Fame up for this week. Join us again next week when we get a whole new 15 Minutes of Fame. In the meantime, I'm Jeffrey Driscoll.
And I'm Jim Kerr.
Have a good week.